Welcome to the Caregiver's Voice with this edition of Voices with Dementia. Today, we have a special guest, a 5-foot dementia warrior, a homegrown Southern belle from Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome, Janice Swink.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you here for this edition of Voices with Dementia. And Janice, let's just get started and let me ask you, what form of dementia were you diagnosed with?
I was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia.
And tell me what symptoms you were having that led to that diagnosis.
I was losing my balance, my peripheral vision was off. I stutter sometimes. I had trouble getting my words out and confusion. I came out of Walmart with my husband one day and had no idea where I was.
And what of those then, which are all scary, if especially, did they come on suddenly?
No, I would say that probably had symptoms for a couple of years.
So a couple of years, and then what was the pivotal moment that made you and maybe your husband decide, hey, I need to go to the doctor and see what's going on?
It was when I didn't know where I was at. Yeah.
And that's just scary. I mean, I think we all go through enough stress in life where sometimes we're totally discombobulated and disoriented. But did that start happening too many times?
The confusion did, and I was actually at my family doctor's, and I told her I'd been having trouble getting my words out and getting confused, and she said that it sounded like I might have early onset dementia.
She just said that right off, huh? And how did you react to that?
I was shocked because I thought, what? Dementia? No.
That's for older people, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, well, and how old were you at the time?
I was 62. Yeah, 62.
62, so that was, you are 65 now, that's 3 years ago, right? 2015?
Yes.
And so she said, it sounds like you might have dementia, early onset dementia. Younger onset dementia is what we call it now, just to distinguish it from early stage dementia. So what was the next step? Because I'm guessing she was a primary care physician, right?
Yes, I've gone to her for years, so she knows me pretty well. And the next step, she referred me to a neurologist. And they set up, oh, my mind's going blank. It was a test you had to go through with a psychologist, and a neuropsych test. That's what it was. Yes. Went through that. That was very hard on me. My husband and I met with the psychologist, and she basically said I wasn't trying and that I was depressed.
You know, I feel goosebumps right now when I hear you say that. And because here you have a primary care physician who already is telling you you may have younger onset dementia. And then you have this specialist psychologist, neuropsychologist, who is looking at you and saying, you know, you're stressed, you're probably, you could try harder. And so now your brain is, yeah, so tell me what happened next.
Well, she asked me to describe some things that had been happening, and Eric and I had gone out of town, and we made a stop at a truck stop to use the restrooms and get something to drink. And the restroom was very large, and it had doors in it like you would have in your house. I mean, it was house-type doors. And when I came out of the stall, I had no idea how to get out. None.
Because you thought you were really in a room instead of a public
bathroom.
Yeah. So when you mentioned this to the psychologist or psychiatrist, the neuropsych, what was her response?
This is exactly how she sounded. She said, "You couldn't find your way out of the bathroom." That is exactly how she said it.
Oh, I am so sorry to hear this and this lack of sensitivity. We would hope that people would recognize, that our professionals would recognize more so, that you are already living with symptoms, if not for months, for years, and finally coming to the professionals to get some certainty as to what's happening to you. And for somebody to use the modern term, diss you, to disrespect you, by saying that, we need to up our training or compassion training of people, because here you are 3 years later telling me this, reliving this, and you won't forget this. And I'm sorry for you.
When we got out of there, I cried.
Yeah, and you know, I hear this so much. We hear this, and it even goes on even now, where people may look at you. You know, you are such a joyful, bubbly human being. So I want to pick up on this. In fact, you and I have talked a couple times before, and we met on Facebook. And you, you know, once I learned a little more about the inside truth of Janice Swink, I gave you a name, and it is the Cougar, the Louisville Cougar. And and you know, when we sometimes think about cougars, you know, we think of those animals, or we think of women who find themselves young men that they hook up with. And that is exactly what you've done. And I affectionately like to say you have met and married an underage man. And I have to be very clear so we avoid any Southern misunderstandings. Your husband is under your age. That's all that means.
Yes.
He is under your age. But honestly, he, from your writing and the things you've shared, he is a very loving, supportive husband to you, even with this terminal diagnosis. And I just want to ask you, what role does he play in your life right now in helping you deal with dementia day to day?
He basically takes care of me. He's one in a million. He really is. He takes care of me. I had to give up driving 3 years ago, so he's the sole driver in the household. My brother that lives with us, he has vascular dementia, and our 2 sons are considered special needs, and he cares for all of us. He does everything.
And Eric is not even a homegrown Southern dude. He is a Yankee up from Philly, you know, or Pennsylvania at least. Or is he Philadelphia born?
He was born in Virginia, but he grew up in Philadelphia.
Philadelphia?
So he is himself from Philadelphia.
He's a Philly dude, and he yet is caring for his brood. And
all of us.
Yeah, all of you. And so you just kind of snuck this in there, your brother with vascular dementia. So there are 2 of you in the house who are living with dementia. and your two sons, each with special needs, one of which, who I had the pleasure to meet, who is a geeky computer guy, which in today's vocabulary, saying that somebody is geeky is actually a very high-level compliment. In the years that you and I, when we were growing up, Janice, that wasn't such a good thing. But today, it's like spot on.
Yeah. He's on the autism spectrum, Christopher is. And he builds gaming computers. He has taught himself all of this stuff and homeschooled.
And that's just tremendous, because it helps you and Eric, because both of you don't do computers as much as your son does. And I like that. And I really like the way he was working with us a couple days ago to just kind of get us set up and in place. So it was a pleasure to meet him as well. So let me ask you then, now, since your diagnosis, what are some of the symptoms you're experiencing with frontotemporal lobe dementia today that still, that you need to deal with?
Well, it's also possible that I have Lewy body dementia as well as the frontotemporal. My short-term memory is really getting bad. I stepped away from my walker at the store this morning and forgot it was even there. I started pushing the cart and walking away from it.
Yes. And this walker, by the way, do you have it near you?
No, it's in the van.
Oh, you know what? Maybe if Eric can hear us, your hubby, maybe he can bring it and we can show it off before the end of our interview. We have about another 12, 13 minutes left. So maybe if he's overhearing us, he can bring this walker in, because this is awesome. If not, we will post a link to your Facebook page so that people can see the pictures of this awesome walker that Eric painted with sparkly purple paint.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And I have little license plates on it now, and I have a little purple sparkly unicorn, My Little Pony, hanging on it now.
Oh my. So tell me, what else beyond the walker are you having symptoms at home that make it difficult with the rest of the gang, like with your brother? I mean, he's dealing with vascular, you're dealing with frontotemporal lobe. What are some of the dynamics that are happening with, say, you and your brother that Eric may have to help you guys with?
Well, we're both forgetful, as I'll get out. I lose my balance a lot, but I'm thankful that there's enough stuff in the house that I can actually grab hold of. And Eric usually is not too far away from me.
Yeah.
We get extremely bad headaches. I get mine in the temporal area, and my brother also gets severe headaches. Eric has to drive my brother to his doctor's appointments, and he has to take me to mine. And neither one of the boys drive, so if they have to go places, then he has to take them also and pick them up.
So your husband is also your chauffeur?
Yes.
But he seems to be a happy man. I mean, he seems,
He's very happy. He told me this morning, he said, even if we had known that I had dementia when we met, he said that would not have stopped him from marrying me.
God, what a sweet man. And that just gives me goosebumps. Yeah, you're right. A 1 in a million for him to step up and be there for your family. So tell me this, what would you recommend to other people who are being diagnosed with dementia, or let's take it a step before. What would you recommend to people who are experiencing symptoms and they're fearing it could be dementia?
Well, they need to go ahead and talk to their doctor, because just hoping that it's not dementia or afraid to find out, that's not going to change anything. If it is dementia, you need to research, and not be afraid to tell your doctor, well, I don't want to be put on that medicine because that's detrimental to frontotemporal dementia. That's for Alzheimer's patients. This is what we went through. We didn't know anything about dementia, and research it. Yeah.
So you've been paving that pathway, going online, getting information, talking with others. Do you go to any kind of support group?
Just support groups online, and I make videos that are public talking about dementia symptoms and what we're going through. The other day I talked about the horrible hallucinations that I've had.
You mentioned something very scary when you mentioned that. You said you felt in the hallucinations that you were out of your body. You weren't even,
yes.
Tell me what that was like, if you can.
It is so scary because just like all of a sudden, you don't know if you're really there or not. And I have to ask Eric, am I really here? Am I here?
And think of that, if you did not have a husband who had compassion, if you asked that to anybody else, a PWAD being a person without dementia, they would look at you and say, girl, are you crazy?
They would.
Yeah.
And wonder at the time, well, have I just completely, am I dead? I have thought that. I'm dead. How can I be here? I'm dead.
Are these typical symptoms that you have learned that are with FTD?
Well, a lot of the symptoms I have are also of Lewy body dementia. The hallucinations and everything. Me thinking my hands are leaving my body, stuff like that.
How about at night? Because Lewy body seems to act up a lot at night. What can Eric testify to about your nights?
Well, I wave my hands around a lot, or I was, and my legs kicking them, and I'm talking out loud, and I'm seeing like black blobs in the room and stuff. And I'm actually seeing a dementia psychiatrist because depression does go along with it. And she has put me on Seroquel at night. And that has helped tremendously with the nightmares and all of that acting out.
That's just scary to consider that, not to mention that if you're lashing out like this, you could hit him.
Right.
Or you did share, you do have a few animals that sleep with you guys on the bed, so you could disturb them. And we don't want that. We don't want to disturb the animals. So in 3 years that you have been living with dementia, what are some of the stigmas that you have had to deal with?
Well, people will tell me, well, you don't look like you have dementia. Oh, I forget stuff all the time. And that makes me mad because it's not the same thing. I'm a very outgoing person. Eric makes sure that I try to get out of the house every day. We go to the Kroger's here, and I push my little walker around. And people I come in contact with, I'll say, how you doing, hun? Good morning, hun. And a lot of them are very receptive, but some of them will just turn and look away and walk away from it.
Oh, what kind of Southern? There must not be true Southerners.
No, they can't be. And I'll ask, do you want a hug? And I give them hugs. And we know several of the workers there. They know us. They know a lot about me. And they just can't wait for me to give them hugs.
Oh. And that's so sweet. I mean, that's human connection, truly, to remain connected. So what other, like, you say at Kroger's, this is what you see. What else have you seen? I mean, how about your current medical care? How is that?
I see my neurologist, he is the head of the University of Louisville Neurology Department. He is wonderful. I left the other neurologist a long time ago.
Good.
He only sees dementia and Alzheimer patients. He had all kinds of blood work done on me to rule out other causes that could be causing my symptoms. And when he met with us to give the results, he said it is frontotemporal. There is no cure. He said expected lifespan is 8 to 10 years. There's no medicines. He's very down to earth and tells it like it is.
Which, the way you share that, it's still the same facts of terminal, but the way he said it shows respect for you as a human being who has the capacity to understand and embrace this information instead of this critical type of behavior we heard earlier. And Janice, you are doing some powerful advocacy work now through the Purple Angel Ambassador Program, and that was co-founded with Norm McNamara. Norm's affectionately referred to as Norm, who we've also interviewed for Voices with Dementia. And he writes, he is an uplifting man who builds people up, and I love that about him. And so tell me what you're doing as a Purple Angel Ambassador.
I finally decided that, you know what, I'm going to talk about what's going on with me with dementia and caregivers and stuff. And maybe I can enlighten people as to what we're going through, how other people respond to us. So I started doing the videos of me talking, but before that, I was doing dance videos to bring awareness to dementia. And one of my dance videos had like 75,000 views.
Whoa!
So I'm trying to reach out to people across the world and just let them know. When I have another good day with no balance issues, I'll be doing another dance video.
I look forward to that. And so people will be able to find you on your Facebook page. Is that what you'd like us to share, your Facebook? And go ahead, you were saying?
I made the following on it public because I've had people wanting to follow me. And if they just go to Janice Swink on Facebook, there I am.
I will post the link so people can click through on it. And now let us ask, in the few minutes we have remaining, is your young husband present with the walker, that we can see your husband do a cameo and show us the walker?
No, he's actually in the other room. I'm sitting in the bedroom with the door closing. He's trying to keep everybody quiet.
I see. Okay, so we won't see the walker, but we will see him and the walker in your videos on your Facebook page. So then let us give you a couple more minutes to give us some closing remarks of whatever you wish to share for our viewing audience.
Hi. Well, I'm very surprised, but I have been invited to speak on September the 15th at the 7th Annual Alzheimer's Music Festival.
That's with Vince Zangaro, isn't it? Yes, wonderful.
I was just so surprised that he wanted me to do this, and I'm looking forward to it. But I feel like it's a huge responsibility because I will be there representing all of us with dementia. And I'm excited about it. I love to talk, so that's not going to be a problem, and I'm excited to meet Vince and other people there.
Well, don't feel intimidated if you feel that you must represent everyone, because your story is everybody's story, and yet your story is your story, and people can listen to your story and say, wow, she's going through that. Look at her. She's able to stand up. Maybe I can be brave enough and do that too. So either way, Madam Cougar, Madam Southern Belle, homegrown from Louisville, You will inspire, and I thank you so very much for agreeing to do this Voices with Dementia interview, and I appreciate you taking the time, Janice.
Thank you so much for having me.